DreAllDay.com.
What's going on, everybody? Dre Baldwin, DreAllDay.com. This one's going to be a quick one, maybe quick. Sometimes I get long-winded, but I want to talk about the Enes Kanter, LeBron James confrontation, if you want to call it that, from the Knicks-Cavs game the other day. The reason I want to talk about this is because one thing, actually I'll tell you why when we get into it. For those of you who don't know, LeBron James made a comment after the Cavs played against Dallas that Dallas should have drafted this guy, Dennis Smith. And the Knicks people, Knicks fans and media people and fans and players thought maybe he was taking a shot at Frankie Smokes. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Bill Simmons calls him Frankie Smokes, the guard that they did take. And LeBron said, no, I'm not dissing that guy. He was really trying to diss Phil Jackson and the Knicks organization, whatever. And maybe because they did bad to his guy Melo, who's LeBron James' friend. Then Enes Kanter comes out and says, hey, you ain't gonna be talking bad about my teammates, this, that, and the third. So we get into the game. Frankie Smokes gives LeBron a little forearm shove and pushes him a little bit because LeBron was blocking him for getting to the ball so he could take the ball out of bounds after a point. And Enes Kanter comes running up, gets on LeBron James' face, and whatever they say, LeBron pushes him off. They probably all got technical fouls. Game continues. LeBron James makes the game-winning three-pointer, celebrates in front of the New York crowd, posts a picture on IG calling himself the king of New York. Enes Kanter, after the game, makes this comment to the media like, hey, I'm going to step up. You don't try to talk shit to a rookie, talk to a grown man or something. He said, you the king, the queen, the princess, whatever. LeBron made his little response. And Enes Kanter said, this is the most important part that made me want to talk about this. He said, you can't come here and punk us. You can't come in our gym and punk us, which that whole point right there, I just don't understand what the hell Enes Kanter was talking about after LeBron James just made the damn game-winning three-pointer on your best player, Porzingis, in front of your home crowd and beat you after he sideways dissed the rookie who you were supposed to be defending. I don't understand this with Enes Kanter. And I like Enes Kanter because Enes Kanter was on my fantasy team last year. And actually he fucked up my fantasy team because he broke his fucking hand banging on a damn chair because he wasn't playing well in the game, and then he couldn't play, so I had to drop him off my team and pick up somebody who was worse than him. So Enes, you kind of fucked up my fantasy season last year. But what I want to talk about right here, there's a couple examples that some of y'all may not even know about. So back in like 1992, right, 1992, I wasn't watching when this happened, but 1992, the NBA and USA Basketball announced this team. Team USA, aka the Dream Team, is going to be representing USA in the Olympics in Barcelona, Spain that summer. Apparently, this is the legend has it that Michael Jordan didn't want Isaiah Thomas to be on this team because Isaiah Thomas was clearly one of the players who should have been on this 12-man roster, but Isaiah Thomas was left off the roster. Instead of Isaiah Thomas, this guy named John Stockton from the Utah Jazz, he was on the team. Everybody knows in 1992, Isaiah Thomas was better than John Stockton. I don't care what point. I don't think there's at any point you could break down a parallel in their careers that John Stockton was ever better than Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas was just a better player than John Stockton, period. You put those two guys against each other, Isaiah's going to eat Stockton alive, and everybody knows this. And if you don't know, you can look it up and find out for yourself. What happens is Isaiah Thomas has this, and back then, I mean, you know, there's no social media. There is media, there's not social media. Isaiah Thomas didn't make it a big deal in the media. He didn't go start talking shit about Stockton and they go back and forth like they do now. Isaiah Thomas, next time the Pistons and the Jazz played against each other, and again, we're talking about the Detroit Pistons Isaiah Thomas, not the Cavaliers / Celtics Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas goes off and is just busting John Stockton's ass. I believe he had 48 points in this game. Someone can fact check the actual stat. I didn't even bother to look it up before I made this video. But Isaiah Thomas is basically killing John Stockton in the next game when the Pistons and Jazz play against each other. Now, Karl Malone, who is Stockton's teammate and who was on the Dream Team and was one of the guys that consensus said he should have been on it anyway, Karl Malone takes offense to the fact that Isaiah is busting his teammate's ass. Now he throws an elbow at Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas needed like 40 to 50 stitches in his face because of the elbow that Karl Malone threw at Isaiah on purpose to defend his teammate because Isaiah was busting his ass because Isaiah was apparently mad that he wasn't named to the Dream Team. Karl Malone got maybe he got a flagrant foul for that, maybe suspended for a game or something like that, a game or two, and everything just continued. But Karl Malone, I'm telling you that story to tell you this. Karl Malone was defending his teammate. So when Enes Kanter steps up and says, hey, I'm defending my guy, or step to a grown man and all this, I'm giving you an example of what Karl Malone did to defend his guy. Now let me give you another example. Maybe you think this is a rare outlier situation. This is maybe 2007, 2008. Dwayne Wade playing for the Miami Heat. They playing against the Chicago Bulls. There's this guy on the Bulls named Andres Nocioni, who was He's a star in his country. I think he's Brazilian, same country as Manu Ginobili. What country is that? Argentinian. He's from Argentina. One of the best players on Team Argentina when they were actually competing and winning gold medal when they competed in the they beat Team USA in the World Championships 2002, and then they won the gold medal in 2000 and I think 04 they won the gold medal, Argentina. But Nocioni was on the Chicago Bulls at the time, and he was guarding Dwayne Wade, and Dwayne Wade was busting his ass, and Dwayne Wade did a move once. He up faked Nocioni. I remember this. It's right on the baseline. He shot fake Nocioni. If y'all remember D Wade in his prime when he would always do that shot fake, and people would jump to try to block a shot, and then he would get to the foul line. He was getting to the foul line, like half of his free throws was off that move. So he does it to Nocioni. Nocioni jumps, comes down, fouls Dwayne Wade, and he kind of did some extra. He pushed Dwayne Wade, pushed him hard, like down into like where the camera guys are along the baseline. And then he stood over and kind of looked at him a little bit after he had fouled him. And Dwayne Wade, mind you, he just got pushed down, so he's looking up. Like after he didn't get a chance to react yet, and before he even got a chance to get up and react, you know what happened? Udonis Haslem, teammate on the Miami Heat, comes over and knocks the shit out of Nocioni, knocks him into the stands. And Udonis gets thrown out of the game. He probably got a fine and stuff like that. But again, this is another example. This is what you do when you're defending your guy. When Dwayne Wade, the best player on the Heat, and John Stockton, one of the two best players on the Jazz, was somehow in some way being offended or attacked by another guy, even though Isaiah was just doing it with actual basketball, and Nocioni did it with an extra, something that wasn't basketball, that extra little flagrant foul he did to D Wade. Both guys, Karl Malone and Udonis, physically came and sacrificed themselves, sacrificed their money, sacrificed a technical foul, maybe even sacrificed their participation in the rest of that game in order to say, look, you're not going to do nothing to my dude without me doing something back to you. Two examples of it. And oh yeah, last season in the NBA, Enes Kanter was playing for the Oklahoma City Thunder, remember? You remember when the Oklahoma City Thunder was in Golden State playing against the Warriors, and everybody knew there was some tension between Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, and there was a point in that game, I wasn't even watching the game, I just seen this in the highlights the next day, Zaza Pachulia, who injured Kawhi Leonard, Zaza Pachulia knocks down Russell Westbrook during the game and stands over him after he knocked him down, stood over him and looked at him like he knocked him down, flagrant type of foul or whatever you want, whatever it was they gave him, and looked at Russell after he knocked him down, just stood over him like that. Enes Kanter, who was on the Thunder, was on the court when it happened. What did he do? Exactly, he ain't do shit. He had his opportunity right there. There's a foreign big guy, you're a foreign big guy, you're both close to 7 feet tall. That's your man. Russell was the best player on your team. He just disrespected your man, knocked him down, looked at him in front of you. You ain't do a motherfucking thing. That was his opportunity right there to prove, like, be a man and don't go at a rookie, come at a grown man and shit he was saying about LeBron. You could have did it right there. Again, 2 nights ago, you could have did it. You said, LeBron, hey, you trying to punk our team. You talking shit about my rookie. You ain't going to disrespect our team. We're a family. I see everybody as family. If you really felt he disrespected him, you had your opportunity right there to do it. Now, why am I talking about this? Because a lot of shit happens in the NBA. I'm not making reaction vids about everything that happens in the NBA. Fuck all that. Something that, to me, and the only reason I'm actually talking about this is because my lady, for whatever reason, she don't like LeBron James. She like a LeBron James, I ain't gonna say a hater, but she close to LeBron James hate. But anyway, she brought this up to me this morning and was saying, hey, did you see what Kanter said about LeBron and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and I started explaining to her the same thing I'm explaining to you. Like, yo, if he really felt that way, during the game in New York, it was perfect timing, right? Everybody was talking about it. LeBron said this about Dennis Smith, and maybe he was dissing Frankie Smokes, and Enes Kanter jumped in and said, don't disrespect my family. Let's see what happens in the game in Madison Square Garden tonight. And then everything happened perfect. Frankie Smokes bumps LeBron James. The whistles get blown. The refs come running in all crazy as if it was a fucking riot happening when nothing was actually happening. Enes Kanter had nothing to do with the play. He comes down there out of nowhere, gets in LeBron James's face, and they have a few words. LeBron kind of pushes him off a little bit. Enes Kanter, you had your opportunity right there in front of everybody. You could have pushed LeBron James. You could have punched him in his mouth. You could have smacked him. You could have physically did something to LeBron James right there in front of the whole fucking, everybody in basketball was watching that game to see what happens. And of course, we know everybody got a camera. You could have did something right there and you ain't do shit. Last year, your man Russ got knocked down by Zaza Pachulia, a dude who's the same size as you. You ain't do shit. When other big guys see their man getting punked or mistreated in any way by their perception, they did something. You ain't do nothing, but then you get in the media and say, yo, you're not gonna punk my teammates and family and all this shit. You ain't do nothing, Enes Kanter. So what are you really about? That's what I want to know. Now, I understand, as I was explaining to my lady again, these days in the NBA, you can't always get so physical. I mean, you bump somebody the wrong way, you get thrown out of the game in the NBA these days. Carmelo Anthony got, what did he get, a flagrant 2 for leaning his body into Nurkic in Portland and getting called for, at first they called it an M1, then they changed it to a flagrant against him. Offensive foul, he got thrown out of the game. I think that was bullshit. Melo was going into the guy. He was doing it on purpose, but that was the whole point, to do it on purpose. He wasn't trying to elbow him. What he was trying to do was just create contact so he can get the whistle and the foul, which he got from one ref, but then they reviewed it and he got something different. I understand the NBA these days, you can't do anything. You can't touch anybody. You can't even talk shit in the NBA these days. You get a technical foul. You look at somebody the wrong way, you get a technical foul. After Ron Artest, this is all his fault. After the melee in Detroit, the malice in the palace, now the refs are like on high alert. Anything happens. You even look at a guy the wrong way, it's a tech. They trying to legislate all the aggression out of the game completely. So now we in the bitch ass era. I call this the bitch ass era. It's not even related to the NBA. I just mean in life and period. Now people got something to say. You say it on Instagram, or you subtweet, or you say something about somebody, but you don't put their name in it. You don't say it directly to them. I call this whole thing the bitch ass era. And this is just an example of the bitch ass era. And Enes Kanter not even American. So I don't know how he got polluted by the bitch ass era. But Enes Kanter, if you want to go to the media and be like, you can't punk my family or talk shit about my man, or I'm a grown man and all this shit you saying, dude, you had your chance to prove it in front of the whole fucking world against the best player in the world who everybody's looking at, and you ain't fucking do it. So Enes Kanter is a victim. He is not even a victim. He's a product of the bitch ass era, because he just proved twice, last year with Russ, this year with Frankie Smokes, that he is a whole bunch of this, but he ain't about any action, because he had his chance to take action. And me personally, I'm maybe older than some of y'all. I'm 35 years old. I was born in 1982. I grew up in the 90s. I was a teenager in the 90s. And any of you who grew up in the 90s, y'all know back then, it wasn't any social media, because this is what happens with social media. I'm gonna talk about this. Social media is like an outlet. I think Jadakiss said this in the song. He said social media is giving cowards an outlet. And I'm not saying that people who use social media are cowards, because I use social media, and I know some stand-up men and women who use social media, but I also see a lot of bitch ass shit happening on social media, where people have taken their aggression that you used to have to. In the 90s, if you had a problem with somebody who lived 2 blocks away, you couldn't post it on Instagram, because there wasn't no Instagram. You couldn't say it on the phone. We didn't have cell phones most of that time in the 90s. You had to go deal with it. When you saw that person, you had to do something. And if you said you was going to do something to that person, or you said, yo, this person disrespected me, or I ain't like what they did, now everybody in the neighborhood know that that's how you feel. Then when you see that person, you got to do something, because everybody's going to tell them what you said, and now they waiting for the confrontation. Now you got to do it, because if you don't do nothing, they going to bring it to you. And if you said it to your man, like, yo, that dude's a bitch, and I'm going to do this when I see him, and then you and your man see that person and you don't do nothing, your man's going to step to you and be like, yo, you was talking all that shit and you ain't do nothing. What happened? Like, you wouldn't be allowed to just talk and not do nothing in the era. And I'm talking about the era that I come from. And the reason I'm bringing that up is not because I'm longing for the glory days or none of that shit. Is because that's why I even think of situations this way. When I see something like that, that's what I'm thinking. That's my point of reference. My frame of reference is, yo, you can't talk about somebody disrespected you and then you got a chance in front of the whole fucking world. You could have, I mean, he could have pushed LeBron. Remember when Nazir Muhammad pushed LeBron in that game? I think it was a playoff game. Nazir Muhammad pushed LeBron. Who knows? LeBron probably flopped a little bit to make it look worse. He fell on the ground. Muhammad gets thrown out. He got suspended for the next game. But it wasn't even about that. For Nazir Muhammad, it was about, yo, I'm defending my teammates, and that's what I'm doing. And Enes Kanter had his chance in front of every fucking body in the world, in the world's most famous arena, to do it, and he ain't fucking do it. So this is this bitch ass era shit that just irks me when I see bitch ass era shit. I don't like when people talk shit before a situation, get into the situation, don't do shit, and then after the situation they're still talking as if they did something. And actually, if you had did something, you wouldn't have to say nothing because your actions would speak for it. So I'm just not with all this bitch. No, fuck this video. I don't even want to talk no more. I'm tired of this bitch ass shit. But I guess this is the world we gotta live in. Work on your fucking game. Dre all day.